The Treasure Seekers, Part 4 by Thea Stilton. Read aloud permission given by Scholastic. Aurora's Mystery. Nikki delicately held the journal in her paws, as if she were handling a great treasure. Her friend's eyes sparkled with happiness. "I can't believe it!" Pam squeaked, turning to Philip and James. "We really found it, and it's all thanks to you two." "No, you five did everything," James replied. "Don't be modest," Pam continued. "Without your help, we never would have looked in the fireplace." "Well, we're glad to help," Philip said. "But now I'm wondering who this Aurora is, and what connection she has to you." Paulina smiled. "You're right," she said. "We really should explain everything." "Aurora was a student at this college, as we told you," Violet began. "She's also the ancestor of a friend of ours, and she's the key to solving a problem our friend is having. Someone took something very important from her. This journal could contain important clues on how to get it back." Philip and James nodded with understanding. "Then the best thing for you to do now is to go back to your bed and breakfast so you can read it in private among yourselves," James said. Nikki sighed, clutching the journal to her chest. "You're absolutely right," she said. "Let's head back and get to work. We have to figure out what the next step is before those other nasty rodents do." She couldn't say for sure, but something told her they would find really important information in those pages. She couldn't wait to read it. Hopefully it would give the mouselets everything they needed to track down the tapestry. A short while later, the five friends were gathered together in their room at the bed and breakfast. They sat around Nikki, who prepared herself to read the first pages of the journal aloud. May 16th. Dear Diary, I have decided to start writing here today on my first day as a graduate. The years I spent at Girton College were truly wonderful. I grew up. I made friendships with fantastic mice. And most of all, I dedicated myself to archaeology. It is truly my passion, and I will never give it up. This world of ours is full of riches from the past, just waiting to be brought to light. And I am ready to do that. The graduation ceremony was yesterday. I was chosen to give a farewell speech. My classmates were so excited, but I felt strangely calm. The future sparkles before us, and we just have to give our all to make sure it continues to shine. While I was on the stage, I looked out at all the relatives who had gathered there for us. My family was all there, including my mom and all 6 of my sisters. For a moment, I really felt my dad's absence. But even though he is no longer with us, I always carry him in my heart, and I feel like he has never abandoned me. His voice guides me when I have too many questions inside me, and his hand is still holding mine when things are hard, just like when I was young. So this is a picture that her sister drew of her. From the stage, I looked at my mom, at Robert and my sisters. Hannah, Linda, and Susan were already young women, and even Carla is growing up. Petra and Deanna, on the other hand, are still little kids. Now I feel like I am the one who must protect and take care of them. After the ceremony, Professor von Klotzwick complimented me on my accomplishments and asked if I would be his assistant on the next few excavations. I am so excited at the thought. A short while later, I was moved once more when Robert pulled me aside and hugged me, telling me how proud he is of me. This warmed my heart and made the moment even more special. I am sure that I will always remember this day. There's so much emotion in her writing, Colette remarked. I feel as though she was a close friend after just hearing a few pages. Yes, and she was so ambitious, Paulina chimed in. She had so many dreams. Nikki leafed through the next few pages and summarized them for her friends. Here she records her first experiences excavating with Professor von Klotzwix, Nikki explained. And then she writes about little Petra's birthday. There's even a photo. The Thea sisters huddled around the journal. She really was just like us, Violet remarked. And learning about her life is fascinating. But we can't forget the reason we're all doing this. Yes, of course, Colette agreed. We need to help Beatrice. V is right. We should look in the journal for some reference to the tapestry or to the alabaster garden. I think I found something, Paulina exclaimed. She had taken the journal from Nikki and was leafing through its pages. 23rd of July. Dear Diary, Professor von Klotzwick is unusually nervous these days and is acting very strange. I have already written about how he is very protective of his trunks. Remember? Well, last night, when I got up to go to the bathroom, I see that the door to the professor's room was open a little bit. He was standing over an open trunk, contemplating something that looked a little like a little urn. Here's a little picture of it. Little urn inside his trunk. Strange, right? I immediately thought that perhaps he had commissioned some copies of the most beautiful relics he had discovered, so he could bring them with him and study them carefully. But why keep them hidden? It seems like an odd thing to do. For a moment, I found myself wondering if he had stolen them. But I would never believe it. The professor has too much integrity to do such a thing. But there was another unusual incident today that I should write about. The day began in the usual way. The professor and the rest of the archaeology team had a long and difficult journey to reach a small village at the top of a hill. The most important building was an old castle that was half in ruins, and according to the professor, was built on top of the ruins of another ancient structure. We had already been working for a few hours, and I found myself in a room in the castle, happily observing the stucco in the walls. Suddenly, while I was delicately touching one of the walls, I realized that one of the stones moved a little. Curious, I tried to push it, and immediately an underlying panel unlocked. I soon realized it wasn't a simple wall. Rather, it was a hidden door. Behind the door was a tiny secret room that was covered entirely in mosaic tiles. In the center of the room, there was a lectern, which is a tall stand to hold up books or notes. I had never seen anything like it. So this is the hidden door in the wall, and then the secret room. In the wing of the building where I was working, it was just me and Professor von Klotzwick, so I called him and he came at once. As soon as he saw the secret room, his eyes began to sparkle. "Aurora, you found it!" he said, darting inside. The room was very small, but I followed him to find out what he was talking about. On the lectern, there was a tightly bound ancient volume. I lifted it carefully. Then I began to leaf through the pages, which told of legends and precious treasures. But as I was trying to decipher the Latin title that sparkled in gold on the cover, the professor briskly grabbed it from my paws. "I'm taking this," he said seriously. I was stunned. The professor has always been kind towards me. Why was he suddenly acting so rudely? And why did he want the book so badly? Klotzwick had never spoken to us about books when he spoke of the possible relics we would uncover at that excavation site. His strange behavior really struck me. Then, after a few moments, he returned to his normal self and began explaining that the book was an ancient volume that could be easily damaged, and that it was better if he took it into his care immediately. When I proposed that I should officially register the discovery of the room and of the book, he said that he preferred to do it himself. It's all very strange, dear diary. The professor has always been careful to make us follow the proper procedure for all of our findings. Instead, this time, he was the one behaving improperly, and he didn't even let me look at the book again. My father always reminded me that when your instincts tell you something, you should listen. But what exactly is it in this case? Should I find a way to get more information? Pam shook her head. I don't understand what this has to do with the stolen tapestry, she said. Yeah, how does an old book relate to Beatrice and her problems? Nicky asked, confused. It may be nothing, Paulina responded, thoughtful. But you heard what Aurora wrote, right? She said the book spoke of legends and treasures. Violet nodded. Maybe we're on the right track, she said. Let's try and read a bit more to see if we can find out. A Secret in the Pages. Colette and Violet made some tea, while Pam prepared a tray of scones she had picked up on the way back from Girton College. Paulina continued to carefully leaf through the journal, looking for references to treasures. It didn't take her long to find something. Here! She exclaimed excitedly. Nicky had placed some pillows on the carpet, and the friends got comfortable, each one with a cup of tea and something to eat. We're ready, Colette said. I leafed through some of the pages, and I read a bit more, Paulina began. Aurora writes about how Klotzwick acted as if nothing happened after her discovery. He behaved as though the book didn't even exist. I'm starting not to like this professor so much, Colette commented, scrunching up her snout in disgust. Me neither, Paulina agreed. And Aurora writes that when she asked him questions about the book, he would always respond by changing the topic. So the plot thickens, Nicky exclaimed. It's getting quite interesting. Yum, Pam replied, her mouth full. Are you going to eat those? She pointed to a tray of cookies that Nicky had sat down next to her. Violet giggled. Concentrate, Pam, she teased. We might be unraveling a great mystery. Let's hope, said Paulina before she continued reading. 13th of August. Dear Diary, yesterday I made a decision. We left the camp to head towards England. Klotzwick had his trunks and all of his belongings with him, but during the train trip, he met one of his old collaborators. The mouse invited Klotzwick to a dining car, leaving me alone in the train compartment with our luggage. It says, I've saved my train ticket, so this was her train ticket. While I was getting my bag to look at some notes, I accidentally knocked into the professor's trunk. Strangely, the lid wasn't closed. That's how I saw the book inside, and I recognized it at once. It was an elegant blue volume with a golden title. It was the one I had found in the ruined castle. Now I had proof that the professor hadn't logged and archived the discovery along with the other relics. Instead, he had kept it with his personal belongings. In that moment, I decided to take a look inside the book. I wanted to get to the bottom of whatever was going on. It was my duty as an archaeologist to make sure that every finding was made public and wasn't hidden or used for personal reasons. So I delicately pulled the book from the trunk. Then I sat down. and looking briefly at the door to the compartment so I wouldn't be surprised by anyone, I began to read. The first page had a kind of introduction that went like this. We know the 7 wonders of the world, passed down by the Romans and Greeks. But only the wisest of the wise know of the greater marvel, the 7 treasures of the world. 7 legendary treasures, hidden from those who might profit from them, are hidden in mysterious places all around the world. Only these pages contain the secret of the 7 treasures and their hiding places. Prepare yourself, reader, to discover the greatest mystery of our world. As soon as I read those lines, dear diary, a chill of pure emotion came over me. What greater dream for an archaeologist than to find the greatest ancient treasures of the world? I know it seems incredible and unbelievable. It could just be a legend. Yet, it was possible that Klotzwick would risk his reputation and his career for an old legend? I don't think so. I knew the book was something special. I just had to look at its pages to be sure. I don't think it's a legend at all. I believe the treasure really exists. Aurora writes about the legend of the treasure. I'm sure the alabaster garden in the tapestry is one of them, Colette said. I know it's late, and we're all getting sleepy, but I want to find out more, don't you? Paulina asked with determination. The friends all agreed. They were all so intrigued by the ancient legend Aurora had discovered that they continued reading.